Hello, everyone. Apologies for the late start, but we are going to make a start now. So today's learning is in memory of Leah Bas Faivel, Tzibir Bas Mordechai, Avram ben David Slavin, Shlom ben Yisrael Morris, Eliezer ben Shmuel Teret, Eliezer Shalom ben Avram Shmuel Beres, Zipporah Fagel Bas Reuven Baruch, Shalom ben Yelili, Bena Bas Faivel, from Rosh Hashanah Bas Yaakov Shmuel, Yom Yochir ben Echav Moshe Eliezer, Sarah Malka Bas Binyamin. We welcome all our guests that are here to learn with us, and apologies that instead of 8:30 it's now 12:18 when I am doing Toma Devora in the morning. Obviously you can imagine that it's been a busy day as we have reviewed all of Yom Tov, and now we are planning ahead. Good afternoon, I should say, to Michael and to Rachel and all those that are still joining us. So I want to share a couple of ideas not related to Toma Devora, but the approach that we should have after Yom Kippur. So I hope you all fasted well. I did reasonably well. Of course, it was. I think it was quite a bittersweet experience that we all had when we stood in shul or wherever we were. It was just so empty, in terms of not having everyone there who's usually there, not being able to have that huge unison of singing together, which lifts our spirits. And but what can you do? We are where we are, but we accomplished what we needed to accomplish, and now we move forward towards Sukkot. There is a very interesting. Hi, Peter. There is a very interesting halacha, and that is, what are you meant to do straight after the fast? Okay. And good afternoon, Caroline. What are you meant to do straight after the fast? Who can tell me the answer? I'm waiting under the comments section to see who can tell me. Straight after the fast, what are you meant to do? And I know you're all thinking, eat. The first thing you're meant to do is eat or blow shofar, right? So the idea, I'm just waiting to see if anyone wants to make a suggestion in the comment section as to what we are meant to do. There is a law which states, yes, you're meant to make Havdalah, but after that, build a sukkah. Excellent. Michael's got it in one. Phenomenal. There you go, Michael. You're worth your weight in gold. Elizabeth says eat. Yes, you do need to eat, but before eating or after eating, Rachel got it. Put the first nail in the sukkah. So why is it that there is, as many of you have suggested correctly, there is an obligation to put the first nail in the sukkah? Right? It's quite bizarre, right? Why do we find that? Do we find that after Pesach or any other festival? Pesach, of course, is the beginning as we build towards Shavuot. But we don't say, as soon as you finish Pesach, you know what you need to do? You need to, start making cheesecake, right? Start learning Torah in preparation for Shavuot. We don't do that. It's only the festival of Yom Kippur. Second you finish, what do, friends? Immediately you have to put a nail in the sukkah. In other words, you start making the sukkah. And I think the idea is as follows, and it's a beautiful, beautiful idea. The way you start something is the way you mean to continue. Okay? And when you are after Yom Kippur, it is the foundations that you are laying, the foundations for the rest of the year. Today, friends, as you have taken time out of your busy days to learn with me, you are building the foundations for the rest of the year. Okay? Let me give an analogy of why it is so important, the foundations. If we were to imagine, okay, I was going to say Twin Towers, but you can't use that analogy anymore. Let's say the Empire State Building, when it was built. Okay, I can't remember what year it was built, but when it was built. So imagine, after they build it, they say the engineer comes over to the president and he says, I want to tell you something. We've got a slight problem in the Empire State Building. We've got a hairline crack we found in the Empire State Building. So what is the response and reaction of the president? President will say, it depends. Where's the crack? Is the first question he should ask. If the crack is on the 50th floor, so they'll say, get someone in, get a team in, make sure, fix it up, plaster it over, end of story, no problem. Now let's say that they don't say that it's on the 54th floor. They say it is right at the very bottom of the Empire State Building. If they find a crack in the foundations, if they find a crack on the ground level, you know what? They are going to be absolutely petrified. They are going to be frantically trying to look into it to see how they can try to save this building. A crack in the foundations means that the whole building comes toppling down. If you've got a crack in the foundations, it means that you have a fundamental flaw in everything that you are going to build afterwards. So therefore, when it comes to the beginning of something, it is essential, it is absolutely critical and crucial that you make sure you get off to the very best start in life. That is why we start the year with Simonim, with the dipping the apple in the honey and the fish head and the pomegranates, because the way we start is the way we mean to continue. And therefore we take a nail and we put it in a sukkah, or we do something for the sukkah, or we do a mitzvah straight after Yom Kippur. You know why? Because if we get our year off to a flying start, if we set ourselves the wheels in motion, this is the path that I'm going to be treading. I'm going to be making sure that I do mitzvahs, and then that I do good deeds, and that I help people, and then I continue on this path. Then it doesn't matter later on if I get distracted. I make some detours. The wheels come off. I get a puncture along the way. I make mistakes. Of course, we don't want to, but it's inevitable that we're going to make mistakes. We're going to err. We're going to make misdeeds. But the point being is that you will be able to get yourselves, Adam, back on track. Are you listening, Adam? If you have the right foundations, if you have the strong foundations, then no matter what happens later on, it'll just be a mere hairline crack in the 54th floor of the Empire State Building, not in the foundations. You'll be able to come back on track. You'll be able to reroute yourself. Okay? That is why it is so, so important for us to make sure that today, the first day, we start the way we mean to continue. Okay? And in that light, that is why I didn't, of course, I couldn't make it at 8:30. It was rather hectic, but that is why you were put to the test today. Are you going to be able to still continue your learning, even if it's at a different time, even if it's at 12:15, right? When we said it was at 12, when it was meant to be at 8:30, and the fact that you continued is something very important. Let me tell you a little story. I'm sorry I'm taking up so much of your precious time, but it's worth it. We are about to recite very worn out text. This is chapter 23, Psalm 23. These sheets are from the very beginning of lockdown. It's one of the only things that still remains from lockdown in one piece, although it's quite tattered and torn now. And Psalm 23, as you're all familiar, okay? So, Adam, we start off by saying, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I want to tell you a story. I should have used this at Nila, but we didn't have time. And the story goes as follows, okay? The story is about a poetry competition. And there was this winner of the poetry competition read Psalm 23, and it was a young girl, and she was a natural. She was absolutely phenomenal in her erudition. In a way, she every letter, every word was so polished. The way she recited it, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. It was absolutely majestic, beautiful. Everyone was inspired, and she was seen as the winner. Okay, and just right then, when they were about to offer her the award, an alter Yid, as they used to say, an old Jew who had been sitting in the front, minding his own business, he says in his broken English, his first language was Yiddish, he says, do you mind if I try to read the Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd? And they all laugh. You know, he's looking rather shlochy, right, disheveled. And they said, no problem, you want to have a go. This girl's, she's phenomenal. And sure enough, he reads it in his broken English, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And as he reads the poem, everyone is brought to tears. They are bawling their eyes out. and the judges get in a huddle, and they award the prize, instead of to this girl who looked like she was going to win, they give it to this Altair, this old Jew. And the girl comes over to the old man and she says, listen, I practiced reading this Psalm 23 for days and weeks and months. You come along, you can't even speak English, you're broken English, you're speaking in half in Yiddish, and yet the way that you recited it, every one of us was crying. Why is that? Do you know what she said? Do you know what the Altair, the old Jew, said? Elizabeth and Rachel. Do you know what he said? He says the difference is you read it the way you would read anything else. For you, it was a psalm. It could have been a poem. The difference is I know the shepherd. And when you know the shepherd, then you read it as it's part of you. And therefore, that is the way that we should, when we recite Psalm 23, that is the way that we approach it. That we know the shepherd. The shepherd is the Almighty, and his love and blessings and goodness showers upon us day after day. And when life is more fragile and when the stakes are exceptionally high, we have to hang on to him for even greater source of life. And we have to do everything we can to intensify our prayers that, please God, we should have health and happiness for us and for all of Israel. So let's read it now. A song of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Even when I walk in the valley of darkness, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. Just before we come to the end of this, okay, we'll do the somebody told me a joke. Are we allowed to do jokes the day after Yom Kippur? So somebody sent me an image, and it showed that the etrog was on one side and the other three species were on the other. And it said that the etrog had been put in quarantine because the others didn't have the smell, right? They didn't have the taste, whereas the etrog, of course, did have the smell and did have the taste, and therefore it had to keep away from the others. Okay, it's a joke. Wasn't that funny, but it was topical. Okay, now we come to memorial prayer. Adon Olamim Zacho es Nishmois Lebas Bible Siribas Mordechai Abram ben David Slavin Shalom ben Yisrael Morris Eliezer ben Shalom Eliezer Shalom ben Avram Shmuel Berti Perifegel Bas Reuven Baruch Shalom ben Eli ben Bas Bible from Shoshana Bas Yaakov Shmuel Sarah Malka Bas ben Yamin Yirmiyahu Yechia ben Achav Moshe Eliezer Shalachul Yamam Began Eden Take Menucha Sam Lachim Elarachamim Yasi Rebezet Kana Fabli Olamim Yitzobas Chaitin Shvasam Adonai Nachasam Yanuchu b'shalom mishkavam v'nomar amen. Lastly, we come to the Refuah Shlema prayer. It's a time when we need all our tefillot, all our prayers for so many that are struggling with COVID, both in this country and, of course, in Israel and further abroad. Mi sheberach avaseinu Avram Yitzchak Yaakov Moshe Aaron David Shlomo hu yivarech rapesach cholim v'avu she'anu mispalim v'avuram. בזכות הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליהם, לחם על הפוסם, ישלח להם פושעים ולשמיים לכל לבים בסוך שכל ישראל, רפואת הנפש וזגוב, השתבח שמו הקריב ונאמר אמן. Wishing everyone a great day. Keep safe, keep well. Tomorrow we'll be back in the normal hour, the normal time, please God. In the meantime, look after yourselves and get ready for a very, very exciting Sukkot. Details to follow.